Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to our Spotlight On series where we highlight Hollywood's hottest up-and-coming talent. Today we're talking with long-working actress Sarah Jones, who has appeared on the likes of Ugly Betty, Sons of Anarchy, The Path, and most recently, USA's prestige drama Damnation. We're going to dig in right after this, so don't move a muscle.
You're tuning into the destination for TV superfan discussion, AfterBuzz TV. And now, let the buzz begin.
Ladies and gentlemen, as I mentioned at the top, this is AfterBuzz TV Spotlight On series. We're so excited to have the beautiful Sarah Jones here in studio.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you for being here, Sarah. I'm so excited to talk with you.
I'm happy to be here. I'm excited to hear what you got to say.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I do want to talk about this song. This is Jan Hammer.
Yes.
Who is Jan Hammer? I'm into it. I just don't understand.
Well, no. So I recently discovered this is the Jan Hammer group.
Okay, cool.
But he was part of this prog rock band in the 70s that they were sort of like the Godfathers, and I'm blanking on the name of their band right now, and it's killing me.
We'll find it.
But anyway, yeah. So he also started this group, and I just can't stop listening to the albums right now. So.
I'm into it. It's like it feels like rock and roll used to be kind of nerdy. And like I miss when it was, I like this hard rock, but I love like Emerson, Lake and Palmer and like Electric Light Orchestra.
Yeah.
And this like very like musically complicated rock and roll.
Absolutely.
Super interesting
no,
stuff.
And each musician in the group, they're genius.
It is like I feel like very
what they do.
genius kind of mathematical approach to rock.
Yeah, absolutely.
Speaking of geniuses, you are the star of a brand new USA television show called Damnation, of which I've seen very, very good work from you.
Oh, thank you.
We're here to primarily promote that, but you're also like a long-working television actress and a lot of shows that I really like, so I feel honored to have you here today.
Oh, well, I really am honored to be here. Thank you.
You're welcome. For those of you guys who don't know, I mentioned this is Sarah Jones, incredibly talented actress who's worked on a lot of projects that you know. We're going to get into all of that. We're going to do kind of a full chronology of your life, which I'm excited to get into. Before we do that, guys, my name is Jeff Graham. If you want to find me, no, it's going to be great. I promise. No need to apologize. If you guys want to find me online, you can do so at Jeffrey C. Graham. I host some other shows here and do these interviews every once in a while if I'm really excited about the talent.
Thanks.
Sarah, I kind of want to start by diving in. First, I want to let you promote the Damnation season finale is soon. So if anyone's
next Thursday.
Next Thursday. Great. Definitely tune in. If you guys haven't seen the show, I'm sure you can easily binge it on USA.com.
Yes, do that. But I would also say that, 9 and 10. 9 is tonight at 10 p.m.
Perfect.
But to me, 9 and 10 are actually it's almost like a 2-part finale.
Wow. Okay.
It could have ended at 9 and then it just builds in 10, and I'm excited for people to see this, and particularly people that have been watching. I think the viewers are going to be really satisfied with the last 2 episodes.
Well, and Westerns are in right now. I mean, like...
Are they?
Well, Godless on Netflix.
That's true.
Was so good.
Yeah.
And this show is so good. I mean, like, I want to get into it, but you've done movies, but your primary work is in television, which I love because we're at a time when television not only rivals the content that movies producing, but I would almost argue sometimes supersedes it.
I have to agree.
And so I love that I'm talking to just like a bona fide television actress, because I think like never has there been a better time to work in TV.
I agree. No, and I feel very fortunate that I didn't get kicked out of it once all the film actors wanted to get into television.
Yeah, you still
I still get to work in it because I do love it. And it all came, funny enough, from working on Big Love. After working on that show, and I think I was in my very young 20s then, and it was, I think, my 3rd job that I had ever had. But after working on that show and seeing and witnessing and working with the kind of talent that was on the show, and Bill Paxton is just one of the best guys I've ever met in general, but in Hollywood certainly. I remember just thinking, oh, this is what I want to do with my career.
Cool.
This is the future. This is what's going to happen.
Yeah.
You
Well,
know?
Big Love was so good. And
It was so good. And
it almost
and it just
feels
got
like-
better.
yeah.
Television just got better, you know? It just became... a whole new, it's in its golden age right now, and it's
in
really
its golden
exciting
age.
to be a part of it.
Yeah, it almost feels like you could say The Sopranos, but Big Love was soon after. Those HBO prestige dramas were one of I'd say the 2000s really ushered in.
Yeah.
Kind of, I'd say HBO sort of led the charge on that prestige
I
drama.
would agree on that. Yeah.
But now it's everywhere. I mean,
It's
we were just
everywhere.
talking about any network can have an amazing show.
It can,
It's
yeah.
the Wild West, speaking
Yeah.
of Damnation.
Yeah, absolutely.
Big Love was so good. It's so nice that you got to work with Bill Paxton. I've actually gotten to meet him once. When I first moved out here, I was interning at a production company, and he took a meeting with us, and I got to sit in on the meeting. And like, he talked before it started, I was like a nervous intern sitting there taking notes, and he just talked to me like I was such a person. And I was like, you didn't have to do that. Like, I'm this 22-year-old intern, and he had an energy about him that was just so lovely.
Yeah, and it sorry.
You're fine. Yeah.
Man,
It's okay. This is a safe play. I mean,
I wasn't expecting that.
Yeah.
It was genuine.
yeah, that's so, I mean, it almost feels like with the climate right now, there's something symbolic about losing him and then the floodgates opening up of all the terrible people.
Sure. Absolutely. Absolutely. No, he was one of the good ones. He was one of the great ones.
Yeah.
And you know what's really beautiful, and we're fortunate, is that his son James is just a chip off the old block.
Oh,
He is
that's
so
great.
talented, and actually, my publicist, who's also a very dear friend of mine, we were talking about it in the car because we came here together.
Love it.
And we were just saying what an incredible family that Bill has as well, and his son and daughter are just two of the most beautiful human beings I've ever met, and I think James is just gonna sort of. He has his own thing completely, and he's his own artist. But I think that he's gonna just take the reins and run off with it, and it's exciting to see.
Yeah, that's such beautiful words to hear. And the thing that's wonderful is obviously we lost him way too soon, but to hear not only the legacy and the work that he gave us, the hugely prolific portfolio he gave us in Hollywood, but to hear that he did his job as a father, and it's like, what a life.
Yeah,
No,
he did his job, and
Yeah.
and he did it 110% in every aspect of his
Wow.
life. He's a gem.
Well,
He's
what a
treasure.
great first big job for you to.
It was incredible.
Yeah.
I mean, clearly he left quite an impression on me, and then I had the pleasure and privilege of working with him again on Texas Rising.
Wow.
So and that was during a very a big transition in my life, and so it was cool to sort of get to check back in with him almost, I would say, 10 years later, and
How cool is that?
and work with him again. Yeah.
Well, let's talk about Texas Rising. I mean, I'd love to
Yeah.
hear. I mean, there's such a long list, so I'm going to be jumping around on the different shows you've worked on. As I mentioned, guys, Sarah Jones is like, as a TV nerd, it's so exciting for me to be like, what was Justified like? What was Sons of Anarchy like? What was Alcatraz? What was Vegas? These are all shows I love. But I'm interested. You're talking about a transition during Texas Rising. So let's go ahead and talk about. That's obviously, as an interviewer, interesting to me to hear you use that verbiage. Like, what do you mean a transition during that time specifically?
Well, I had found out right before I left to go shoot that I was pregnant.
Wow.
And I didn't want to. It was such a male dominated cast, and it was another Western, and I actually didn't say anything until almost, I think we were about I was 3 days out of shooting, and that was mainly because I was going into my 5th month of pregnancy, and I was concerned that my skirt wouldn't fit anymore. But it was such Bill had just left this an entirely different impression on me because James was working on that show as well, and so to see such. And actually, his daughter Lydia was there as well, and to see how close they were, and how beautiful and down to earth, and kind and generous and bright, and I mean, I just can't say enough kind things about these people. So I will wrap it up. But to see that and see the kind of father he was while he was working, and how he had integrated his children, but also these are two incredibly independent, lovely human beings. It was such a breath of fresh air, and sort of this sort of reassurance of, okay, all right, you know what, it's gonna be all right, it's all gonna be okay.
What a beautiful sentiment. I just like, yeah, I've got nieces and nephews right now, and I'm engaged, and
Congratulations.
Thank you. Yeah, but my fiance and I are talking about like we could be starting a family soon. So to see people working in this industry specifically who are doing it, it's just like, okay, there are, and when you hear, we're going to talk about it a little more, but all of the news right now, you sort of feel like you're on shaky ground. You're like, is this a safe place for me to be working? Is this a safe place for me to potentially raise a family?
Right.
So I just appreciate you speaking such lovely words about him.
Yeah,
because
I could talk about this the entire interview. So yeah, I mean, I really could.
Well,
just a beautiful soul and a beautiful man.
Well, cool. I love to hear that. And Big Love was really so good.
Yeah.
But I have this laundry list of shows that I want to talk with you about, because
Let's do
that's not
that.
the only show that you're in that I love.
Right.
Obviously, Sons was so great too, and I sort of want to hear about like what it was like to work on that set, because if I'm right, you came into that show not in the first season, right? It had been established.
It was the second season, yeah.
So what was it like to come onto a show that kind of already had a bit of a following, or was it still at that point sort of in little indie?
I think it was still a bit of an indie
Feel.
sort of feel, but it was picking up. You know, it was starting to sort of, it was starting to catch its stride, I think. And I had a blast. It was like being at summer camp with just really cool, like, brothers and uncles, and the guys were just great, and the set was fun, and working with Henry Rollins was incredible. I mean, that he is one of the other great ones, you know, both as a human being and an artist.
Cool.
And just so respectful, and you know, really, he's one of those people. He is so, his talent is notable, of course, but he's an artist because he engages in the human experience and in human beings, and listens and takes it all in, and anyway, but on the whole, I mean, and Katie Seagal is great. I mean, I again can't say enough kind things about everyone involved. And
Katie
it was a
Seagal
blast
is so
to work
great.
on.
She's like another like just TV legend. I mean, like I really liked Married with Children, and it's what a cool turn for her. It's nice to see iconic sitcom stars take these turns. I mean, it's happening. Well, obviously, Allison Janney's a legend. But with like Laurie Metcalf right now. What is such a cool turn for her this year, and it is fun to see your TV heroes kind of step into something new when they get that opportunity.
Yeah, I mean, it's inspiring, and it's also inspiring that these women are not, you know, these sort of 20-something ingenues. They've got such weight and depth, and wisdom, and it's exciting to see not only these roles being written, but also these women that we've some in some ways have grown up with, to see them in a different light, in a different way, and doing something and showing us something else that they resonate with, and I think that helps to resonate with us. You know, I don't know, but it's cool. It's very cool.
It's that breadth of ability. It's that, you know, it's so. It is just exciting. I feel like even in my lifetime, I've seen the opportunities for women specifically, and men. I mean, we're talking about TV is so much different in the last 15 years for all actors. Right. But it is cool to watch actors or actresses who are maybe put in smaller boxes when they were working in the 90s or 80s be given the opportunity to really expand and show us what they really can do.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
So I want to talk about Vegas.
Okay.
This was, I like prestige cable TV, but I also really like a good network show. And this was kind of like a classic, like fun gambling kind of crime show. I loved it. I thought it was canceled way too soon. But I do want to hear about like what it was like to work on like kind of this fun like mob gambling show. Like what was that experience like?
Well, it was fun. It was fun, and playing Mia Rizzo.
Yeah.
Getting to sort of walk around owning. Well, she didn't own the casino, but she owned the space, and
Yeah.
she sort of
She owned her role.
yes,
yeah.
she was in charge of what she was doing.
Yes.
And to sort of play with that sort of glamorous 60s lifestyle was fun, like you were saying, and of course yet another great guy, Michael Chiklis. You know, just everyone. Again, I've been really fortunate. I can't think of any show I've done where I've thought, oof, that cast was rough to work with. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like I've been so fortunate in that aspect. So yeah, it was a lot of fun.
Speaking of great dads, Michael's daughter Autumn works at the
Yes.
network here, which is
Yes.
fun. So I'm a little bit friends with Autumn, and we work together. And
She's kicking ass and taking names.
she is kicking ass
Yeah,
and taking names
she
right now.
is.
Yeah, yeah. We've been seeing her less and less around here, which is good news, I think, for her because
Yeah.
she's off to great things. But
Absolutely.
yeah, Michael, I've gotten to meet him a couple times because our executive producer Maria Menounos is friends with the Chiklises.
Yeah.
And yeah, fun stuff, and that's glad to hear. So one question I have is someone who gets close to their cast and as someone who's been lucky to work with great casts, do you feel like you mourn that experience when your shows end? Like, how do you deal with that as an actor?
Well, I mean, I think that it does depend on the project. Sometimes when you start something, you kind of know, you kind of get a sense of when working on a project, that's the moment,
Yeah.
and it's a great moment for that time. And then there are the rarer moments or people that you meet that you think, oh, this is someone that's most likely going to be on my life path
Yeah.
from now on.
Yeah.
And whether I see them every day or I run into them, you know, it just sort of depends on the job and the atmosphere. And sometimes, yeah, there's situations where you can become incredibly close with someone for that time that you're working. And then you just sort of go on a different, you know, wherever the next job or
Right.
wherever the next life moment leads you. And there's nothing really to mourn in that aspect because it was a beautiful and sort of lovely time and
Yeah.
moment, you know?
Well, what is cool about television is you have an artifact of your time that you spent.
Right,
You
right.
have this like in tape printed document of your time, which is pretty cool about television.
Yeah.
And another thing, I feel like the thesis of this interview has been like, movies are cool, but television is also like really, really cool.
Agreed.
And you have the opportunity to spend more than just a 30-day shoot with this cast. And like, you all kind of journey through your characters' arcs together, which is
Absolutely.
that's
Yeah.
so cool.
Yeah. I
Yeah.
mean, and Damnation, I do have to say, the cast of Damnation, that is a unique experience. That was a unique experience. I mean, the two other lead actresses on the show, Chasten Harmon and Melinda Page Hamilton, the three of us have become very, very close. And I mean, we talk to each other almost every day, and we the cast in general, we all sort of keep in touch, and we had immediately sort of taken it felt so organic and easy to just get along, and the way that we work, and even the way that we act all sort of seamlessly fit.
Yeah.
You know, it was just easy in that regard, and I credit that, of course, a lot to Libby Goldstein, who cast it, and Tony Toast, who's the creator and showrunner. He seems to have a knack for
chemistry.
Yeah, I told him, I said, if this whole writing thing doesn't work out, you really have a job. I think you have a future in matchmaking. I think this could really work for you. But no, it's I do have to say, so far, working with the cast of Damnation has been just such a special time, and also those I feel like a lot of those people are people that I will know, for a very long time, and we've established such a closeness, and it's really lovely.
Well, I have a feeling you guys will be working together next year. I know you guys are still waiting.
Fingers crossed.
But
Fingers crossed.
let's go ahead and talk about Damnation now, because that is what you're here to promote, and it's great. I've seen it. I described it as a 1930s Western about class warfare. I have these very well-organized talking points, which describe them. Damnation offering a fresh perspective on Depression-era America, told from the point of view of, this is actually not the line I wanted to read. Here we go. I'm good at my job, I promise. These talking points beautifully describe the show as an epic saga about the secret history of the 1930s American heartland. I kind of want to hear how you would describe the show, and I'd also love for you to describe your character on the show.
How would I describe the show? Well, I would say, when I would describe it to friends, I would say that really it's more about these two brothers who find themselves in a war with themselves, in not necessarily against each other, but with themselves and their pasts. And they come together, and fate brings them to this town where one brother is fighting for the working class and working with his wife, which I play, to radicalize the farmers, to strike against the bank and the food distributors who are setting the prices, which makes it so that the farmers can't pay for their land. And the other brother that is a strike breaker, coming in and having to do a job and not realizing that his brother is there fighting on the opposing side, but knowing who his brother is, which is not a preacher. So that's sort of the long. It's because we have time to say that. But that would be how I would. Because to me, the show is it's more of a. It's certainly a character-driven show, and it's got such a rich ensemble cast and quality to it. So you start with the brothers, and then you quickly realize it all expands, and everyone's connected in other ways.
It's a good way to describe it, though, because I think people get nervous when they hear historical drama, because they think like, oh man, I don't want to go back to history class for my junior year of high school. But
unless you're me, because I love history.
So it's probably a dream project for you. But what this show does beautifully is really focuses on the intimacy you're describing.
Right.
Because any show, whether it's a historical drama or a comedy or whatever, has to be about character first, right? You've got to have those rich character relationships, and then you can do whatever you want. Your show can kind of be about anything, right? As long as the characters are really compelling.
Absolutely. And I mean, it certainly doesn't stray. It sticks to. Here's the thing: when it comes to social inequality, there's so much more than just finances, right? There's so many other injustices that circle around inequality and what that means and what that looks like and how that applies to whoever someone is, and where they're at in their life. And so the show also touches on that, and how it all there's not any black and white issues. It all bleeds together. So yes, it certainly. I guess in that sense, yes, it could go a lot of different directions and a lot of different places, and who knows, with season 2, it may very well do that.
Yeah.
But
it's focused though.
yeah, it certainly.
And what I love, we were talking about this before we went on air, but you're talking about the class warfare and the social injustices and the gray territory that accompanies social inequality.
Mm-hmm.
And the only thing I can think is, are you sure this show is about 1930 or are you talking about 2018,
Sure.
right? So I think like any great historical drama, this show is about its time, but it's also very much about our time,
Right.
which we need. You know, it's like we need a reason to be compelled to tune in, and if we're feeling, you know, a thematic exploration of what we're experiencing today,
Sure.
why would we not watch it? I mean, that's
Right.
what makes the show so good to me.
Yeah. Well, and yeah, and I also think that I don't know if right now you could really do a show that's in 2018 that talks about that, because we're so polarized at the moment. And I think in order to process what's going on and how we feel as a nation and collectively, regardless if we agree on every topic or not, I think that you need a bit of an abstract illustration of it. And I think
Yeah.
having it in a different time period is more appropriate for that abstract sort of conversation, because at the end of the day, it is a television show.
Right.
And when we turn on the TV, or we go to watch a movie, we do want to be entertained. We want to be inspired. We want to be moved. We need a bit of an escape.
Yeah.
So I think that this is a really great show that gives you that, but also allows you to process whatever it is, however you feel about what's going on now. There's something in there that applies.
Yeah. That's the other beauty of historical dramas is you can take from it what you want. It's almost like you are watching something that's first entertaining, right? Because that's what we want in our TV. But
Right.
there's elements of almost parable where you can, take whatever you want in your own life and see it in the lives of our history.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's really beautifully said, Sarah.
Oh, well, thanks.
You're welcome. So I want to talk about your character because, as you mentioned, she's working with her husband.
Yes.
That's such a badass, strong female character, which kind of seems to be your zone, which is awesome.
I do enjoy them.
Yeah.
I do enjoy some strong, badass females.
Especially right now, right? I mean, and we're going to
yeah.
talk about it more, but it makes me, that's why I was excited to interview you, because I was like, oh yeah, she's like always showing up on my favorite TVs as like the heroic, badass chick.
I wouldn't say that so much on Sons of Anarchy, but
Yeah, that's true.
yeah.
Great acting nonetheless, but
Oh, thanks.
such an empowered character in this show. Can you talk a little bit about what it's been like to play, I'm embarrassed, Emilia is the name of your character on the show.
No,
yeah.
it's been such a treasure and a treat. And there's times where I can't believe I was hired to do it. Because
I can,
it's
just so you all
it's
know,
just- Well, it's just such a great role that I just thought, how did I get this? Yeah, she is sort of the mastermind behind what Seth, that's the name of her husband, played by the fabulous Gillian Scott. Do you watch international television at all?
Some British.
Okay. Did you ever see Love Hate?
No.
Okay,
Is
well-
it good? I should watch it.
I should watch it too. I haven't.
Okay,
Sorry.
we'll
Let's-
exchange contact info
There we
and
go.
have a viewing party.
And
How's that?
I love it.
Perfect.
Let's do it.
I
We'll
love it.
binge.
Great.
But there might be, I don't know how many seasons there. Anyway,
we'll find the time.
But he's a gem from that show, and he's done so many other things. And this show is actually one of his first, if not his first, American production, and he was such a find. But anyway, enough about him, right?
This is about you.
This is about me. So Seth and Emilia are trying to continue this strike and eventually expand the movement from town to town, state to state. I think I just might have actually quoted a line that I said. And eventually, they're hoping that that actual laws will be put in place to protect the working class and to protect and that labor laws will really have some established weight and that the working class and the middle class can grow and expand because ultimately I would Emilia definitely believes this. I would have to share this with her that when you have a stronger middle class or working middle class, when it's stronger and healthier, you're going to have a better country. You're going to have a more successful country. You're going to have a safer country. You're going to have a thriving country. And I sound like a politician right now. But it is something I believe in and something I know Emilia believes. And so that's what they're trying to do. And Emilia is sort of the mastermind behind what they're doing. You know, Seth is sort of he's sort of the face and the leader and a fantastic executor in what they have to do. Is executor
I think
even a
that
word?
sounded fine to me. I understood it, so you did your job, right? She sort of, you know, she sort of has to stay in the background a bit because she is a woman in 1931. Right. And but she's sort of coming up with the trajectory and what they need to do, and she's always 2 steps, 3 steps, 5 steps ahead of everyone. And she's a cool customer about it. Yeah. It takes a lot for her to lose her cool. Yeah. Which I believe you'll start to see in the last couple of episodes. Ooh. But yeah, a little teaser. Yes. So yeah, that's who she is, and she's also a very talented writer, and is writing sort of these pamphlets for the working class under a male pen name and so that people will actually read them. Right. And so yeah, she's very involved, but of course she has to walk that fine line of involved activist and understanding society's place for her.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah, it's but how cool to watch someone subverting what is expected of them almost through covert operations. Yeah, you know, it's like. Yeah, I just think the show's very good, as you guys can tell. And if you haven't seen it, you really, really should. I think if you're a fan of historical dramas, yes, but if you're a fan of good television.
Agreed. And I have to agree with you on this one.
It fits in the conversation we were having before. I mean, USA wasn't necessarily making HBO-level shows 10 years ago, but it's a different climate now, and you can watch these amazing character-driven shows anywhere. Yeah. And USA is one of the best ones on TV right now. So there is an episode airing tonight.
There is. Yeah. Yes, at 10 o'clock.
And then there's the finale next Thursday at 10 o'clock.
Next Thursday at 10 o'clock.
And if you guys haven't watched it yet, you should be watching it, but I'm sure you can catch it on USA.com. Tweet at USA, tell them how much you love the show.
Yes, please do.
It's the kind of show that needs a second season.
It does.
And I just know it's also the kind of show that if it doesn't quite have the audience it's going to get, it will, because it's like Sons or like any show now. I think very rarely does a show come out with huge numbers, and it's because you need a couple seasons.
Well, and very rarely does a show come out where I think, you know what, first season was the best season of the series. Right. That was the best season of the series, you know, and how sad would that be if that was the case?
Exactly.
What I think is really cool about in watching this season, it gets better every episode, and it gets stronger, and we've really, by the time we got to 10, we found our stride. We knew what we were doing. Not that we didn't know what we were doing when we were started, but you have to build a rapport with everyone, and then of course you have to build that with your audience as well, and you're not going to be able to build that until they've seen the first season. Right. So you know, yes, it would be lovely to get a season 2 because I think we're just going to take off from there.
Well, I'm sure you will, but for those of you
with
who
the
are
story.
watching, tweet at USA. Let's all rally together and make sure this happens.
Yes, let's do that.
Well, cool. I'm excited for you. I'm excited about the show.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Speaking of multi-season shows that are great, I'd be remiss if I didn't at least mention The Path because that show's so good.
That show is so good.
And I know a lot of people are watching it. I just
Yeah.
kind of want to hear about what it was like to work on that show and to work with Aaron because, like, he's Aaron Paul, you know?
He's lovely. He's also one of the good ones. He's
Yeah,
one of the,
good.
and so is Hugh. I mean, everyone. Again, I've been lucky. I really have.
Yeah. And talented as well. But I guess there is an intersection of talent and a little bit of blessing, right? Too,
yeah. I mean, I certainly feel that way. But yeah, working on the show was a blast and so weird, you know, in such a satisfying way.
Yeah.
And then and Aaron, you know, it's funny. Aaron actually was one of the first friends I made when I moved out here.
Really?
Yeah. But he's the kind of guy too that everyone knows Aaron and everyone loves Aaron. You know what I mean? He's just that sweet guy.
Yeah.
And he's fun and he's kind and of course immensely talented.
Yeah.
So it was fun to be able to work with him because it's always fun to work with someone that you're friends with and
Well, what a cool moment for you guys who have known each other at the beginning and then
Yeah.
sort of show up on a set together of this
Yeah.
huge Hulu show.
yeah. Well, and
here we are.
and my daughter at the time was, oh dear, I think 7 months. So that was also sort of a life trip of like, oh my gosh, you know, like, yeah, here's my daughter. It was incredible. So,
Cool.
yeah, it was a wonderful experience.
Well, it's good to hear.
Yeah.
I do want to talk about as a working mom and an actress who often gets cast in these empowered female roles. It's been an interesting last 6 months. For those of you who are listening now or maybe a year down the road, we're kind of in the thick of like the reckoning is what they're calling it.
Oh, is that what they're calling
I
it?
think that's like the official. We'll see. I mean,
Okay.
I'm sure history books will title this as something because it does feel like kind of a historic moment. Just from like a general perspective, how have you felt about all of this news coming out of respected producers, actors not being, or I don't know how much you've known, but just not being maybe the heroes we'd hoped they'd be?
Well, I mean, working in this business, it doesn't surprise me at all.
Yeah, I'm sure.
It's, you know, and working in this business, you know, you're conditioned, whether you're male or female, because certainly there, as we've seen as well, there's sexual harassment and assault to both men and women. But you're conditioned to sort of, you know, keep your head down, suck it up, and move forward, and keep going, and I think while it's important to snuff out the people who are abusing their power, I think it's more important that we're now having a conversation of the fact that we're able to have a conversation and communicate that there isn't a choice to just go and say something and call someone out right when it happens to
Right.
you. Because when you're put in a position of, okay, I've been working, you know, I mean, I grew up dancing. I thought that was what I was going to do with my life. And injuries proved otherwise. So acting was the next best thing. But I spent, from the time I was 8 years old to, you know, the time I started auditioning, essentially, leaving school and working hours every day on something that I had hoped to be in the performing arts one day and have a career in the performing arts. So when you're faced with a circumstance of someone who is above you and has more power and abuses that power, you think to yourself, you have choices. What's more important to me right now? Calling this person out and potentially ruining my career, and not only ruining my career, but just being harassed and known as this person.
Blacklisted.
Sure. And possibly even being drilled to the ground in funds with, lawyer fees or
Countersuit,
or if I am successful in this, then do I get to have a career? And what does this become? What does all of this become? And then what's most important, because we're only starting to believe people now. Right. How many people does it take before we believe that someone has done something wrong? So to also be in a place, in a different town than where you're from, and on your own, and trying to make a living and trying to make a life for yourself. And if people don't believe you, then what?
Right.
And then, of course, there's even darker situations where you're more harassed. So the point of what I'm trying to say here is, I think what's even more important than sort of calling and shaming, rightfully so, these predators, is that we are now opening, we're having a dialogue about, all right, this happens. We are acknowledging this.
Right.
What next? How are we going to hold a safe space for those people that need us?
So beautifully said. And I think I appreciate that you're acknowledging the complicated nature of coming out with, it's been so interesting. Obviously,
well, and then of course there's the whole the shame and the guilt and all this that of processing that. Some people don't want to talk about that, and it's no one's business.
Right.
It is nobody's business.
There's been so much
or decision to tell someone when to say something. That is their personal journey, and that is for them when they're ready to do it.
I couldn't agree more. I feel like there's been pushback against victims, which is so frustrating, because it's like you said, the point right now is, first of all, that people are listening, because the crazy thing is that hasn't happened in 100 years. So
longer than that.
I know.
Pretty much, I would say, since
for
the
10
beginning
years.
People just stop listening. It's crazy.
But I appreciate you acknowledging, it's not the time to push back against victims right now.
Right.
It's the time to listen. And I just think that was really beautifully said.
Oh,
and
thank you.
I'm learning from seasoned performers and just hearing their take, because as someone who's a working mom with a daughter, I'm sure you're excited about the opportunity to change what's been the standard for, again.
This is not something this is not a Hollywood epidemic.
Right.
This is a widespread disease internationally. This is a problem. And I think right now we in this country have an opportunity to be leaders, here I go, sound like a politician again. But we have have a chance to lead in holding that safe space once again. And so I think it's going to take more than just social media input. I think it's going to take some real action and some time that we give each other, and personally holding the space if someone trusts us with that.
Yeah. So beautifully said. I think we're almost out of time, but
All right.
One thing I do want to ask is just, as a straight white male who's surrounded by people in my class who aren't doing what they should be, what would you advise for, I guess, men like me? I'm about to get married. What would you advise for, I guess, men right now working in Hollywood? How can we help? I mean, what can we be doing? Because it's like the jungle,
Right.
and we don't want to be a part of the problem.
Right. Well, I think it's pretty basic to me that if you see something inappropriate, call them out.
Yeah.
Because even if the person, whether it's a man or a woman, is holding their own, to have someone backing them up and sending a message to the person that is either straight up, whether it's inappropriate or straight up predatory, to to stand next to someone and say, what are you doing?
Right.
Or that stop. That's just stop. That's inappropriate. Whatever. Just it does two things. One, it tells the person who is holding their own and trying to stand their ground, hey, I got you. I see you. I see the situation. I'm here. And it tells the other person, I got you and I see you. Cut it out.
Yeah.
I think that's important, you know, and to remind, I would say I would like to remind men that y'all are just as sensitive, emotional, and emotionally intelligent human beings as women. You have it there. I am giving you permission to use it. You are not, you know, I do think we sort of have an issue with what is deemed sort of masculine and throw it out the window. It's 2018. My God. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's like if you're seeing something that isn't right to you, say it.
Right.
And what is a bro code? Give me a break.
Right.
Let's
focus on the human component of this issue.
Just do what's right, because at the end of the day, you'll feel better about it.
Yeah,
you know what I mean.
said.
You'll feel better about yourself about it. So do it selfishly. Do it if you have to do it.
Right,
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Do it for you.
Well, thank you so much. I mean, Sarah, it's been fun to talk TV with you. It's been fun to talk about Hollywood with you. And it's been fun for me to like learn from you. I just really
thanks so much
appreciate
for
you
having
being here.
me. I really appreciate it. And thanks for watching so much TV.
I mean, I would not be working here. We're a TV network. I wouldn't be working here if that wasn't the case. And just so you guys know, this is AfterBuzz TV. However you're finding us, we're a network that covers TV. That's what we do. So tune in, check out other content, check out our other interviews, and check out some of our after shows. Guys, my name is Jeff Graham. If you want to find me online, you can do so at Jeffrey C. Graham. On Fridays, I host a show called The Unproduced Table Read, where we table read unproduced scripts with professional actors and interview the writers. It's great. If you ever wanted to come on,
yes, I'd love to.
That would be pretty cool if I could get
fun.
Sarah Jones to read on at my show.
That'd be fun.
I'll keep you posted. It's every Friday. We read pilots and features, so it's been
rad.
It's been really cool.
Yeah, cool.
But yeah, check that out. That's on Popcorn Talk, our sister network, on Fridays at 10 a.m. Sarah, anything else that, I mean, obviously Damnation.
Yes,
if there's anything
please watch
else.
Damnation tonight at 10 and watch it next week. And yes, tweet about it, gram it, whatever people do with the stuff, with the social media.
Snap
Let
it.
USA know how much you enjoy it, because I know that they're listening, and we would love to continue to tell this story.
Absolutely, and we would love to see it. Thank you one more time, Sarah. I really appreciate it.
Thank you.
Guys, we'll see you next time here on Spotlight On, and thanks for being here. Bye.
From executive producers Maria Menounos, Kevin Undergaro, Phil Svitek, and the entire AfterBuzz TV staff, we would like to thank you for listening to the AfterBuzz TV network. To watch or listen to other after shows and post comments or questions, be sure to visit AfterBuzzTV.com. I'm Sir Richard Wentworth, and this has been a presentation of AfterBuzz TV.
Buzz you later.
The views expressed herein are those of the hosts only and do not necessarily reflect the views of AfterBuzz TV or its owners or principals.